you've been the most talked about talent in boxing for a good while. Why is that?
I think it's just the way I fight.
Knocking people out.
Knocking people out, and I'm in the ring, I'm passive aggressive.
That's one way to put it.
I'm a boxer puncher. I don't come at people reckless. I take my time, I break my opponent down, and I am the sweet science.
Hey guys, I've mostly done boxers of the past, so today I thought I'd change it up and do a career breakdown of a current champion who I believe will be a household name someday. The great Errol Spence Jr. Errol Spence Jr. was born on March 3, 1990, in Long Island, New York, but was mostly raised in Texas. His trainer is Derek James, who also trains Jermell Charlo and up-and-comer Burley Brooks. Spence fights in the welterweight class and has a record of 27-0 with 21 knockouts. This is a 78% win-to-knockout ratio. Standing southpaw, Spence's style and skills are extremely sound, using subtle footwork, great guard manipulation, like using his forearm to frame on his opponent, blocking his opponent's vision with extended jabs, and pushing on them to knock off their balance. He also uses other tactics which help him to set up power shots. He can also use these moments for quick combinations. Spence also has great mid-range skills, allowing him to not only put extreme pressure on his opponents in close distance, but also uses constant jab on the outside to cut angles and set up more shots, including devastating body shots, which he's well known for. His granite chin has also helped him where any of his defense has failed. Dubbed The Truth, he made his pro debut on November 9, 2012, knocking out his opponent John Garcia in the third round. He'd fight the next month with a technical knockout victory over Richard Andrews, also in the third round. The following year, he'd fight a total of 8 times with only 2 of his opponents going the distance, bringing his record so far to 10-0. In 2014, he'd fight twice, winning a unanimous decision over Ronald Cruz on June 27th and beating Javier Castro by technical knockout in the 5th round on December 13th. He'd have his first step up in competition in 2015 against Samuel Vargas, winning by technical knockout in the 4th round on April 11th. He'd defeat Phil Logreco by technical knockout in the 3rd round just 2 months later on June 20th. He'd then fight Chris Van Heerden on September 11th, dropping Heerden twice in the 7th round before getting a stoppage in the 8th. On November 28th, he would face and defeat Alejandro Barrera by 5th round technical knockout, making him the number 2 welterweight contender. ESPN would also name him Prospect of the Year. On April 16, 2016, Spence would face the tough Chris Algieri, who had never been stopped in his career up to this point. Unbelievably, Spence would knock out Algieri in the 5th round with a blistering left hook. On August 21st, he faced Leonard Bundu, breaking him down in a one-sided affair before dropping him in the 6th. The referee called the fight after that. Spence would then challenge Kell Brook for the IBF title. Brook was undefeated as a welterweight and only lost 1 fight up to this point to legendary Triple G. Spence would drop Brook in the 11th before Brook took a voluntary knee due to the amount of swelling around his eye, ending the fight and giving Spence his first title on May 27, 2017. His first title defense came against Lamont Peterson on January 20th, 2018, dropping Lamont in the 5th round. Lamont took a lot of punishment in this fight, and his corner ultimately stopped the fight in the 8th. His next challenger was Carlos Ocampo, who was undefeated at the time with a record of 22-0. Spence would win by knockout with a mean body shot in just the first round on June 16, 2018, marking Spence's 11th consecutive knockout victory since 2014. He'd then dominate Mikey Garcia on March 16, 2019. Garcia's record was 39-1 at the time with 30 knockouts, but Spence outclassed and outlanded Garcia. In total, Garcia only landed 75 punches in the 12-round fight, while Spence landed 345. Truly incredible. Spence's next fight would be against Shawn Porter, a two-time welterweight world champion. This was an action-packed fight and went the distance. The deciding factor was Porter getting dropped in the 11th round, which gave Spence the WBC welterweight title on September 28, 2019. Spence was in a horrific car crash in October of that year, speeding in his Ferrari before losing control, flipping the vehicle numerous times, and being ejected. Somehow he didn't sustain any major injuries or even any broken bones. He's truly lucky to come out of that crash intact. In his first fight after the crash, Spence would defend his title against two-weight world champion Danny Garcia on December 5, 2020. This fight went the distance, but Spence won a majority decision, silencing the voices who said he might not be the same fighter anymore. Spence was supposed to face 8-division world champion and one of the greatest fighters of our generation, Manny Pacquiao. Unfortunately, Spence suffered a retinal tear in his eye. This is his career up to now, with a big fight happening this year. Spence is set to fight Yordenis Ugas on April 16, 2022. If Spence wins, he would take the WBA title, having 3 out of 4 titles. The last title, the WBO, is currently held by Terence Crawford, who is undefeated 38-0. I really hope Crawford and Spence fight someday. I'm sure it will go down in history as one of the greatest welterweight fights. Both are extremely technical and dangerous. Errol Spence has 3 children, Ivy, Violet, and son, Errol Dallas. On a side note, I'm trying to build this channel up, and it's difficult to find viewers as a new channel. Any like or subscribe is extremely appreciated and will go a long way. As always, thank you so much for watching, and have a great day.
It doesn't sound like other fighters. When you hit guys, it sounds like you're hitting a bag. There's a thud. When you sink it in there, do you know?
Yeah, I know. Your body don't lie.